okay, the software is just incredibly stupid to use. Anyway, I was trying to stream the Georgia hearings, and for some reason I couldn't get it going. Finally got it going for like the last half of it before they went to break. I think still going on. Then I couldn't change some thumbnails for some reason, and then YouTube just randomly drops it. So I just figured I'll just come on here. It was pretty enlightening. I've been watching it. It's one of those things that's kind of cringing, some of the testimony, and I don't know, the video of the here's okay. If you haven't seen it, go look it up. The video that they showed that was when they kicked everybody out, and then they brought batches of, or I mean, you couldn't tell if they're ballots. You can only presume they're ballots because they're in the same containers that the other ballots were. But they bring these containers out from another table, and if anything, what this does is just raises questions of validity and whether our votes have, or our vote, I mean, the ones in Georgia, really, if your vote wasn't just canceled out by some schmuck, or if your vote was just manufactured, like you heard the last girl on the live stream, like they just stole your vote pretty much, and you extrapolate that, how many times that happened throughout the election, how many votes, or how many people are unaware of that their vote was taken, and how many votes were manufactured, how many votes were flipped in the system. There was a kernel there that we didn't get on the live stream. You could go look that up. I think GGS will watch had a good live stream. They were able to get that on there, but they were there are some interesting irregularities. There's some very interesting testimony there. That I think that one kernel, he's talking about how easy it is. They could hack into the system. That some of the software updates, it was pretty enlightening. I mean, like I've said this before, we've known about this for a number of years. And I'm glad that now that people are actually starting to care about it. But 2012, 2016, stuff happened. And then Giuliani mentioned it when he came and addressed the Senate there. He mentioned the fact that, I can't remember, his representative, who was a Democrat, had wrote a letter about this in 2006, basically the complexities of Dominion system and the vulnerabilities. And that's just to say, that's just her, opinion in 2006, with some, extrapolations. Of course, there's other people that have brought this stuff up. Now, we've seen this in action in, I believe, 12 and 16, but now we're really seeing it, and to the extent that it has tipped the scales in a number of states, and being interconnected as we are ever more so, we're actually seeing this play out. And then we have a guy like Trump that's willing to actually stand up, where most people just fold. Oh, well, it is what it is. I'm just going to fold, and we're going to keep the process the way it is. The only disheartening thing is that they didn't realize this before, and they didn't try to do something about it. Some of this testimony about guys like just printing off ballots to run through the system. I didn't hear one where they talk about the thumb drives. I think the colonel alluded to it, that you could easily do some updates on thumb drives. That could set the software, the algorithm, to a certain extent where it hits a certain amount of votes and starts flipping it this way, and then vice versa. But also, he did allude that you could forensically go back and piece this together and be able to tell if some of these were manufactured or not. He also mentioned that some of the ballots that were run through, you should be able to forensically see whether they were printed, whether they were actually used by a person. Oh, there's another one. So there's a nice lady that was testifying, and she mentioned the fact that they had opened a whole case of votes that were, tactilely different. They didn't have folds, which, I granted, if you're doing the duplicate ballots, the folds wouldn't be there. But the material was a little bit off to her. But what was more amazing was, okay, there was one or two votes that you could tell that those were done by person. The rest of them, though, were identical to those ones. And that might seem innocuous, but until you really think about it, okay, so how she was able to discern that was on the first line or whatever, when they, mark whatever, there'd be Biden, whoever the hell, doesn't matter who it was, vote for it, but there was a little halo, which you can imagine if you've ever done circled in ballot, there's always a little bit, you don't quite always get it, a lot of people. And, okay, that's fine, the machines can read that, or any regular machine, or if you've done a paper ballot on a test in school, they can read the number 2 pencil markings off there. That's not a big deal. Where that does make sense is whether those are individuals, doing the duplicate ballots, they wouldn't all be the same, or if they were just random individuals doing them, they still wouldn't be the same. You can't duplicate that process unless you printed it. So if they're exactly the same, that's where you get into the fraud case there. That's the compelling subject or evidence that she brought, or testimony she brought, because I can't physically verify whether it's evidence. I guess that affidavit is a form of evidence. But just her, now we're getting to the point where we have a lot of testimony that's, some of it overlaps and is corroborating each other. Some of it is not, but it's enough to put into question a lot of this stuff. Whether you voted for Biden, or voted for Trump, or you voted for Joe Jorgensen or this purple spaghetti monster, doesn't really matter. What matters is the integrity of the process. And if we do care about voting, which, if you know my views, I think we shouldn't be voting for the president anyway. We should be voting for our legislators, and I think we need to be more of a republic. But if we do care about voting, then we must care about the process. Otherwise, what's the point of having voting? And it just becomes irrelevant at a certain point when it becomes so corrupt that people they'll have that tingly feeling that they actually did something. But so pretty enlightening testimony. We didn't even, this is Georgia now. If you get into Arizona, there was a good analytical presentation about the possibility of 100 to 300,000 fictitious people in that, and that was done by some financial analyst. Not to mention that they have Dominion voting systems, I believe, in Maricopa County. Then you go into Pennsylvania, that's a whole other issue, and the systems there. Now, it's not just these systems. They were talking about a multifaceted fraud scheme. And you could say, okay, well, they're saying it's not widespread. Well, maybe it isn't widespread across, but we know in these particular states. And if you're going to rig an election, you don't have to do it in every state. In fact, it seems pretty suspicious that way. You pick the states, and this is how the mafia did it with JFK. Granted, they didn't have the electronic voting systems, but they had influence in certain key states that he needs to win. And, sorry, something scared me. And that's the states that you can control, and those can push you over the line there. So all you got to do is control certain dominoes in the scheme, and you can affect the entire system. So anyway, that's it for this. I just wanted to try to live stream. It didn't really work out that well. I did get some of it. Very interesting times, and I guess we'll see where this all plays out. Hopefully something happens. But even if President Trump doesn't get a second term, if somehow we can add some legitimacy to the process and fix these holes now, hopefully we can restore integrity to the American electoral system. So I'll talk to you later.